So the numbers, here they are from Iowa, Des Moines Register and Selcerner, folks, said to be the gold standard in Iowa. And here is where Donald Trump is, Dana, 42%. The next nearest competitor, Ron DeSantis, 23 points behind everybody else right now in single digits. Take a note of Tim Scott toward the upper part of that single digit. So one of the issues that you find in Iowa is among the electorate, evangelicals hold a lot of sway. And that was a lot of concern for Trump. First time he went out there in 2016. Among evangelicals now, in this polling, Trump's at 47% and Ron DeSantis is at 20%. Remember the history now. From 2016, there was a concern evangelicals, would they be swayed by Donald Trump? Ted Cruz won him by 3 points, right? So Cruz is first place. Trump was second place back in 2016. Somewhat impressive, but if I go back one time here, if this poll is reflective of where we are now, Donald Trump easily beats all others among evangelicals. A little bit of history too, right, huh? 3 points here, and then we go way back in the time machine. I find this very interesting now. This is what the polling has shown now, going back decades. It's the biggest, Trump has the biggest lead among Republicans since going back to 2000 when George Bush was up 27 points. He eventually won the state by 11. Trump, you see, lost it by 3. Bob Dole, however, in nearby Kansas in 1996, had a whopping 46-point edge in the Iowa Caucus. So some history there. And for today's modern look, Marc Thiessen's got more of that. Marc, good morning to you. Been waiting to talk to you. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Bill.
You did a deep dive in the numbers. What do you come away with this? What is your analysis?
Yeah, well, if you look at the poll, Trump is way ahead with 42%. But the other way to look at that is that 58% of Republicans in Iowa want somebody else. And it's the same thing in New Hampshire. He's got 42% in the Real Clear Politics average in New Hampshire. It means 58% of Republicans there want somebody else. South Carolina, he's got 43%. That means 57% want somebody else. So this is way open. We haven't had the first debate yet. The players haven't taken the field. This is all pregame discussion. We'll see what happens in the debate if somebody emerges from that debate as a favorite, because right now no one has consolidated that 58% majority that want a different nominee.
Only a speechwriter like you, Marc, could carry that sports metaphor all the way through, and you know I appreciate it. Hey, call for number 1 here. This is also from the
Marc reads sports.
Des Moines poll. Most important to choosing a GOP, like what matters to you the most. They're looking for somebody, 65% say, they're looking to someone closest to them on the issues. Only 29% said that they are looking for basically the electability argument, best chance to defeat Biden. Yeah. So show me call for number 3, please. This is what the poll says of the best chance of defeating Joe Biden. Trump there at 38%, but not as commanding a lead as he has overall, right? So DeSantis at 28%, and then you go down from there. Electability. It always sounds logical, but that's not necessarily how people think about choosing their candidate.
Yeah, no, they first look at who they agree with because they want to obviously elect the candidate who shares their views. But there's not that much difference, except on some issues like Ukraine and foreign policy. There's not that much difference between the candidates among on the issues. I think they all basically agree on the broad swath of things. So it's really they're looking at who sings to them, who's going to who's talented. Candidate quality matters a lot. But I think electability is going to be a big issue, and there seems to be a disconnect between the Republican voters and the country at large on whether Trump can win this election. There was an AP poll that just came out that showed 64% of Americans say they will not vote for Donald Trump in November 2024. I mean, 64%. That's 53% say no how, no way, no chance, and another 11% say probably not. That's a bad sign. There's not another Republican candidate who has those kind of numbers. So in the end, the Republicans have to decide who can beat Joe Biden, because Biden and Harris, if Biden gets another term, he's not going to probably make it through that other term. He's 80. He'd be 86 years old at the end of his term. You got about actuarial tables. You got about a 43% chance of making it to 85 as an American male. So that means Kamala Harris is on the ballot. Do you want Kamala Harris in the White House, Republicans? Because if you do, then don't make electability the centerpiece of your choice.
We got time for one more point. Rule number 6. Kim Reynolds, she's a very popular governor in Iowa. Was on with Shannon over the weekend. Says the plate's full here in Iowa. Watch.
I think we have a great field of candidates right now, and I think we don't need more candidates in the field. We probably need less, and that's kind of what we do with the Iowa Caucus. Our role is not really to protect the winner, but to really start to narrow the field.
Okay, so, I mean, that's Iowa's job. Meanwhile, Axios had a headline over the weekend, big GOP donors push for Trump alternative. That may be true, Mark, but Glenn Youngkin's got a big election coming up in the fall.
Yeah.
They win the Senate side of the State House. If he does that, it's very impressive. They talk about Brian Kemp from Georgia. The rumors are that he'd like to be a U.S. senator. Do you see either as viable, or do you think what we have right now is what the field will be?
Well, first of all, I'm looking forward to the day when Kim Reynolds is on that stage running for president, because she's one of the best governors in America, and I'd love to see her as our presidential nominee one day, or at least the vice presidential nominee sooner rather than later. I think anybody should pick her as their VP nominee, whoever the Republican nominee is. Look, it's too early to be talking about alternatives. We're having the first debate in 2 days. There's going to be a second debate in a few weeks after that. Let's see what happens in those debates. And if nobody emerges to consolidate that 58% that wants somebody else, then we can start talking about whether somebody else should get in the race. As you say, Glenn Youngkin is completely focused on the off-year elections. He's got to win the legislature in Virginia. After that, if he's successful and no one's consolidated it, then we can talk about whether somebody else ought to get in. But right now, let's give these candidates a chance to make their case to the Republican voters.
Sounds good to us. That's what we shall do.
Mondays with Mark. Thank you, Mark. Nice to see you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.